um, like how often do we find ourselves saying yes when we want to say no? And so it's not a real yes, it's like a reluctant yes. And we end up maybe tolerating it or resenting the person or noticing that we're giving up so many important things in our own life when we do that. But there's a lot of reasons why we say yes when we would prefer to say no. And we're going to be looking at those and seeing also seeing special ways that we can use to be able to say no and still maintain good relationship with people. I'm going to just take a moment here because there's some people who have their microphone turned on. I'm going to turn you off for now. Okay. So please, unless you're talking with me, please keep your microphone off. Thank you. So I'm going to share my screen here so everybody can see. And can you see the screen okay, Michael?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And then so here's reason it's difficult to say no. Is the type big enough to read that, Michael?
No, I can read it clearly. Yeah.
You can. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So fear of conflict. We have a fear that we say, no, it might lead to an argument. And it's very important to keep the peace, People feel guilty about saying no. Oh, I should be, they need it or they want it, or maybe they're blaming me or other people are blaming me for saying no. And so, especially with a close friend or a family member, it could, you don't want to feel guilty. There's something else called fear of missing out, People sometimes say yes when they don't want to miss out on opportunities, even though they're already overbooked, like they really don't have the extra time. So they're not looking at their own schedule and long-term and taking care of themselves. Next reason is desire to please. I think we have a natural desire that we'd like other people to be happy, right? So, and also we want other people to like us and we want to be accepted by them. And we're frightened if we say no, they won't like us or be accepted by them. And we might also disappoint them, which is a type of, maybe, of course, this relates to guilt. If you feel like you're disappointing them, maybe you'll feel guilty too. And this whole thing called social conditioning. Society often encourages us and even rewards us to say yes, and to accommodate others. And we're even taught this by very early age, that like if something wrong or you're going to be rude or you're going to be selfish if you say no, and you also, there's a next reason related is fear of damaging your relationship. Usually, we have the person who's asking us to do something that they're important in our life. We want to maintain that relationship, and so we maybe have a belief that if we say no, they're going to not want to be our friend anymore, or there's going to be problems, especially in work, like this. They saying no to the boss. That might be a problem, right? Some people have like low self-esteem and confidence, and they might feel like that other people's needs are more valuable than their own, and so they just say, okay, well, it's so important to them. Why don't I just say yes and not really look at your own needs? Uncertainty and doubt, like maybe you're not even so clear about what you want. I mean, you sort of know when you want to say no, but because you're uncertain about what you really want, you may hesitate to say no. Next one is the obligation. Especially according to the culture, there's a sense of obligation about saying yes to parents, family, teachers, bosses, stuff like that. Um, and others can actually make it difficult to say no. They say, "Why? I did this for you," or something like that, or you're not doing what you should do, which would be again uh, guilt pushing. And a final reason is some people just have trouble and difficulty. They're not even sure how to clearly articulate their refusal in a polite but assertive manner. So, Michael, any comments or feedback on those reasons? Have you noticed yourself sometimes saying yes when you want to say no because of some of those reasons?
Yeah, sure. I think those reasons on your screen is real reasons, is actually real reasons in life when people they try to say try to say no, but they can't say it. I
Yeah.
think for me the most fundamental reason is basically fear of damaging relationships with others, especially with close ones. And
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe like someone close to you might want to borrow some money, even it's a
Mhm.
small amount, but you can't, you really
Mm.
don't want you know, to lend it to him, but because maybe he didn't give it back before and
Mhm.
something like that. And
Yeah.
but yeah, you know, after considering how you can maintain the relationship with him in the future, and something like that, you might ended up saying yes, and that's a reluctant yes. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Sure.
that happens a lot. Yeah.
That's a good example, especially in China. I've heard so many stories of people lending money when they didn't want to, and actually, in the long term, it usually ends up making the relationship even worse. Very often than
Yeah,
better,
right.
But short term, it can seem like, oh, I really should say no, yes. Okay, thank you. So, to, in order to begin to consider saying no more often and appropriately when you need to. Of course, you say yes whenever you can if it fits for you and you're still taking care of yourself. But there's some basic principles to understand. And the first principle is that your number one job in life is to take care of yourself. That's your number one job. Nobody else has that job. Other people may care about you, but no, you cannot give that job away. And sure, often a good way to take care of yourself is by finding a way where you can take care of others and it works, like each side is benefiting. But if you can't find a way, then your number one job is to take care of yourself. And if you're putting others ahead of yourself, then you're not doing that. And then many people feel like they need permission to say no. Like uh, maybe it's because they want to avoid the possibility of blame or somebody um, guilt pushing them or being disappointed, like they have to get permission. But if you feel like you have to get permission, you don't have much power, and really say no when you need to say no. And another thing that people often don't realize is in the big picture, most often, if you do say no when you need to say no, people will respect you more. Because when you say yes and you do it reluctantly, there's going to be cost to your relationship. There's going to be cost in terms of how you feel about yourself. There's going to be a lot of costs that spread out over time. And often maybe you say yes, but then you find out you can't do it, and then you have to say no later, and then that's you end up even looking worse than if you'd say no to start with, because very often when we say no, we're not looking long term. We're not looking long term. Very important to look long term. Next thing, how to say no, because how you say no is quite important, if the relationship means anything to you. And for any of you who've known me very long, you'll know how much value and emphasis I put on choosing courage, because especially if you're used to saying yes all the time and you start considering saying no, it's going to be courage. Even if you can see it's the best thing and everything, it's going to be courage. So, you do the deep breathing and do the holy moly, I'm so scared, or Maya, I'm so scared, get the energy flowing and pat yourself on the back for the courage to say no. Because sometimes we even if we say no, we feel guilty about it. So, but this is something to feel good about yourself, that you said no. And even if it doesn't come out so well, you still pat yourself on the back because you can't necessarily guarantee how it's going to come out. So let's look at some specific techniques of how to say no. Like when somebody asks for something, like say, for example, you were talking about a friend asked you to loan some money, Michael. Okay. Oh, before I go into that, any comments or feedback on those points there, Michael?
I think no questions. I understand it. Please go ahead.
Okay. All right. So if the person is important to your life, it's usually better not to just speak no out very quickly. In fact, you need to really think, okay, in the big picture, is there a way to say yes or no? And so you're actually clear about whether it's good to say yes or no. But even if you know from the beginning it's going to be no, it might be good to pause a little bit to show you're considering it. That way, the other person can more easily feel like you're taking them into consideration, even though you're saying no to them. And this is one of my favorite ways to say no, is like I say to somebody, like say if they ask to borrow some money, you say, a part of me would really like to say yes. I know you wouldn't have asked me if it wasn't important. So part of me would really like to say yes, but looking in terms of how to take care of myself and even to take care of our relationships, I can't see a way to say yes and still take care of myself. I hope you understand. And I found almost always people seem to understand this. A part of me would like to, but I really can't see how to do that and still take care of myself. Another way that's helpful to say no in a powerful way is to use, instead of saying, oh, I'm sorry, I can't lend you money, like that, if you say something more like, I'm sorry, but I don't lend money as a policy. It's like I really I found that in the long term, it's really best for me and my relationship with people to do that. So I don't do that as a policy. So don't, is a much more powerful in terms of like stating a principle of that you follow for your life than if you just say I can't. If it's a very important issue, then I recommend the partnership conversation. And the partnership conversation is on my website. I recommend you go to it. It's like you sit down with the person and say, hey, uh, I'm not seeing right away how I can say yes to this. Let's talk together openly. Let's see if we can find a way where we can both be happy here. And probably it's still going to end up being no, but you work together, and you look deeper and at their request and they know deeper about what's going on your side. So that's another um, important way to. Um, yeah, one time my girlfriend in China, we've been together 3 years, and I had a sort of a policy with her um, to only see each other once a week, and he says, I want to see you twice a week. And I knew I had to be very careful, She said, well, I don't want to. Oh, you don't love me, like that. So we sat down and I talked about it, and I really listened to her first. But that's another good principle. Try to listen to the other person first, especially in a partnership conversation, and then you can share your side. Um, and then at the end, I shared why I had this policy, and she said, okay, I agree with you. But we had an even better relationship after that than before. Another important point, this is to try to distinguish between what's your business and what theirs business. Maybe their business is to ask you for a loan or whatever, but your business is to take care of yourself and to say no if you need to say no. It's like if they happen to get upset about that, I mean, not that you maybe you're not sensitive to that and you listen to that, but that's not your business. That's their business. So, uh, any quick comments on that, Michael?
Yeah. I think these are some fundamental reasons of, fundamental ways to practical weapons to get used to in the life and in how to say no. And I actually have a question about the last part about right to say no. Number two, no, it's how to say no. Number three, using don't with a principal reason. I don't really quite get it.
So if you say I don't do that because I have this policy or this principle, but if you say I can't do that because I don't have enough money or something like that, then of course, if you say I don't have much money, then maybe later you do have enough money, and so that reason doesn't, it's going to leave you open for other requests like that, Whereas if you say I don't, not like it's against them, it's just you having these principles that you use to take care of yourself and guide your life. This is like if somebody offers you a drink, they say, hey, why don't you drink with us? You say, thank you very much, I don't drink. But if you say, thank you very much, I can't drink tonight, or da da da, can you see how weak that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. Okay. We're going to have to wrap this up quickly because we need to get on to other things. But, it can be especially problematic about saying no to parents, saying no to children, especially if or saying no to a boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband or wife, saying no to bosses, saying no to teachers, and yes, in those particular cases, usually say one person has a certain status, they're considered like a higher status, like they have a right to, and sure, they have maybe a right to make those requests, of course, but it doesn't mean you can maybe you can still show respect to them, like hey boss, I'd really, really like to do this, but I just don't know how to do it and still do my other work, or I don't know how to do it and still keep my very important promise to be home with my children tonight, you know? I mean, you're giving some reason there, but you can still show respect and say no. And I've got two links down here on my website, that I recommend you go to. One is just called Saying No, and the other is called I Want to Say Yes, But. Okay, so I recommend those very much. And any final comments, Michael?
Yeah. Yeah, about the last comment you made on this subject. You mean like people with when you are facing people with maybe a higher status, you could generate more fear than you facing the common people, and
Yes.
In those times you might think, oh, that's impossible to say no to the people that make a request of me, and but deeply thinking, you can the right is yours. The right of saying yes or no is on you, is yours. So you can always choose to say whether yes or no. And yeah.
And there may be some risk, there might be some risks, if you say no to your boss about certain hours, and if you have to look at whether you're willing to take that risk or not,
Yeah, that's right.
But we have a lot more power than we think we have, with bosses, with teachers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. I'm gonna stop this recording.